Hey guys and gals, Nary here from Drake Wing Gaming. It's something you may on Twitter, the Gaming Drag today, and coming back at you another Let's Play episode of In Case of Emergency, Wes's Path. So y'all, before we jump into it, just wanted to let y'all know that our Patreon is now up. We've got Bronze tier for $5, Silver tier for $10, and Gold tier for $15, each with their own exclusive rewards and permanent access to our community Discord server, along with some other tasty rewards. Anyway, y'all, let's go ahead and jump right back in, shall we? Alarm chain, you are up. Let's go. Alright. Back to the investigation. Did you know that guy? That guy back at the Boja's house. He didn't seem to like you. Oh, yeah, I've talked to him a couple times before. I haven't seen him in over a year. I'm surprised he still remembers me. His voice is nonchalant, but he rubs the ring around his finger as he talks. How do you know him? How'd you two meet? I met a lot of people while traveling around here. It's no big deal. You figure he doesn't want to talk about it. Wes shrugs and raises an eyebrow at you. Don't worry, it wasn't anything serious. He's got nothing on you. You better not. I sure hope not. You feel warmth rise to your cheeks. Wes laughs. You're cute when you're flustered. He squeezes your arm and strides ahead to meet the group, his longer legs easily outpacing you. There's that funny feeling again, that swimming sensation in your gut whenever he teases you. You've gathered that Wes is pretty casual about his relationships, but you can't quite place where you fit into all this. Are you going to be not anything serious? Did Sky think there was something more? The butterflies in your stomach flutter anxiously. The three of you walk down the cobbled road towards the home of the Remerants, Cedric taking the lead. At the end of a long road lined by cypress trees, you finally arrive at the Remerant mansion, where Lady Remerant invites you all for tea. As you enter, Cedric hangs back to whisper to you, "For real estate. No, don't drink any of it." Wink. You wink at him in reassurance. You've got this. Indeed, inside, Lady Remerant sits at a table and gestures for you to make yourselves at home. It's terrible what happened to Lord Bosia. I can't imagine how distraught the family must be. She pats under her eyes with a handkerchief, though there's no tears. Uh-huh. Everyone must have been shocked by the news. Is your family doing all right? I know you were close. Lady Remerant sighs loudly. Oh, I imagine it's much harder for the Bosias and their children. Poor Sky. He's too inexperienced to run the entire business on his own. Yes, poor Sky indeed. Right, and I heard your family also runs a business? Lady Remerant sniffs in disdain. We've hit a hard spot this season, yes. But we all have. What with the river diminished as it is. Nothing we cannot bounce back from, once that godforsaken void is driven back. It will be, Cedric reassures her, sounding determined. So your business isn't doing very well? Lady Remerant looks the two of you up and down. You're supposed to be the ones grilling her for answers, but her gaze makes you feel like you're the ones being questioned. Eventually, she simply sighs and dabs at her eyes again. I can assure you, boys, our family had nothing to do with Lord Bosia's illness. No matter how bad it got, our family would never be so desperate as to stoop to assassination, thank you very much. Lying? Yes. Destroying someone socially? Certainly. But doing something illegal like murder or thievery? Well, actually, stealing anything from the Bosias would be a terrible idea. No fence would ever buy it. Everything they own has their family crest emblazoned ever so gaudily on it. Did you know Lord Bosia wore the most detestable ring on his finger at all times? Cedric nods to you meaningfully. It was obscene. Now, if anything were criminal, it would be his crimes against fashion. Lady Remerant fans herself as she remembers an entire slew of apparently offensive outfits. At any rate, allow me to make your job easier by assuring you that the House Remerant had nothing to do with this. We'd be the prime suspects, after all, first of all, and I simply don't have the constitution for murder. It would be utterly foolish to make a move against the Bosians. She looks at you pointedly. And she's no fool, she seems to be saying. If I can offer any advice, it's that I'm not so certain this was foul play. Well, knew Lord Bosia's drinking habit would get to him eventually. He was perfectly fine when we saw him last night for our monthly dinner. His drinking habit? Dinner last night? I heard you went over dinner that night, before Lord Bosia was found unconscious. Indeed, I have nothing to hide. It was an ordinary dinner like any other. Thank you, now. Water time. His drinking habit? His drinking habit? Oh, yes, he drank with every meal and then some. You think he just had too much wine? It's certainly possible. After all this time, maybe his body finally gave out. Were you close? Were your families close? She laughs politely. Don't let the rumors fool you. Our families may operate rival merchant companies, yes, but we never harbored ill will towards one another. I thought him absolutely mad at times, but he was a shrewd businessman through and through. The Lord had a habit of drinking hemlock wine, you see, whenever he had guests over. He believed it proved his bloodline's superior constitution. And he drank that wine last night? Yes, I always believed he was bluffing. That's what our dear Elizabeth told us, anyway. She was closest to the family out of all of us. Well, perhaps he was serious that night, or perhaps his hubris finally caught up with him. She blinks her eyes rapidly, trying to give the appearance of holding back tears. She might be faking her sorrow, but you have no reason to think that she's lying. Yet. Thank you for your time, Lady Remerant. You've given us some new leads. You stand to take your leave. By the way, do you guys have a library anywhere I can look for rare books? Wes grabs him by the scruff and drags him out, and the four of you decide that some more questions for the Bosia family. As you make your way to the Bosia home, you can't help but wonder out loud, if Lord Bosia really did drink hemlock wine regularly, is it possible he just got unlucky that night? It sounds familiar. I think he might have had some when I was over. How do you know the Bosias? Wes and I came down here a couple of years ago. We helped out the family by clearing out their crypt, and they invited us to dinner. You're a little jealous. You wouldn't mind running errands in this city without an ominous countdown to the apocalypse hanging over your head. Just another thing you've arrived a little too late for. In the foyer, Sky is still pacing along the rug, rubbing its fibers thin against the marble. He monologues to a ficus in a clay pot. I did not know Father very well. No, I shouldn't say that. He looks up from scratching something out on his paper. I assume you're back with a culprit. Lady Remerant told us that your dad drank hemlock wine that evening. He sighs, pausing his pacing. My father drank hemlock wine nearly every night. He believed his Bosia blood would make him immune, whatever that means. You couldn't pay me to drink that poison. Great. That's not something you should have told someone investigating a potential poisoning. Sky bristles. Like I said, he drinks this wine nearly every night, and he's fine. He has exactly 1 glass a night. If I thought it was important, I would have mentioned it. He didn't do anything different that night? Well, Lady Remerant said that she thought your father was bluffing. Maybe someone swapped a drink for real hemlock. Maybe someone gave him real hemlock that night instead of the fake stuff. Sky narrows his eyes. Are you calling my father a liar? We would never. Do you still have any of that wine lying around? No, we threw it out after serving it. Can we check your kitchen? Maybe there's something else that poisoned him. Sky crosses his arms and puffs his chest out, trying to look as imposing as possible. He takes a step towards the doorway leading to the eastern wing of the house. Absolutely not. I forbid it. I won't be a suspect in my own home. Of course not. We believe you. We're just trying to clear the air so no one gets the wrong idea. Right now, you're full of wrong ideas. One of which involves breaking and entering. I just remembered that I was supposed to check in with Remus an hour ago. I have to go. So, water time. We'll go with you. No! I mean, it's okay. You guys stay here and clear the air. No one needs to go to the kitchen. I'll be right back. You dart out the front door before anyone can stop you. Once you're sure you're out of earshot, you round the corner of the house and to its eastern face. You have to step on the very tips of your toes to get a good look in the window of the house. You can make out the fuzzy outline of the back of Sky's head. Next window. You creep over to the next window, placing your hands on the windowsill and pulling yourself up to peer inside. Pots, plates, and dried herbs dangle from the walls. Jackpot. There you are. You nearly fall from your perch in alarm. What are you doing here? Don't worry, the others are keeping him busy. Let me give you a boost. You wonder if he's just trying to avoid Sky again, but then he gets to his knees and intertwines his fingers, waiting for you to get on. He buttresses your feet with his hands as he pushes you up to the window latch, and in your surprise, his tail smacks his face. Your tail smacks his face. Oof. Sorry! It's okay. Price I pay for the view. Your face burns as you fumble for the switch holding the window closed. It pops open with some fiddling, and you swing the window open. Give me a boost! Wes lifts you inside, and you scramble onto a kitchen counter and softly drop to the floor. nearly face-planting in the process. Wes follows behind you, and for a moment you worry he'll be too big, but then his body seems to squeeze smaller to accommodate the narrow gap, and he pops out unharmed. With his hands resting on the windowsill, he smoothly and silently slides himself to the floor in a single fluid motion. Damn, Wes whispers to you. Look for the wine. You don't need to be told twice. The two of you quietly search the kitchen, lifting cutting boards and moving aside crates of vegetables. At one point you stub your toe on something hard and metal, and you yelp in surprise. You hear a raised voice from the foyer, and both you and Wes hold your breath as you dive behind a stack of crates. A moment passes, then another. You hear the voices calming down Sky, and no one comes. You breathe a sigh of relief. Looking down at the floor, you see that you stubbed your toe on a trapdoor. You nudge Wes. There's a cellar! That's gotta be it! Wes nods silently and reaches for the handle, pulling it open slowly. Its iron hinges creak ominously. Wes slides into the cellar behind you. There's barely any light coming in through the cracks of the closed trap door. You can make out the outline of a tall cabinet on one end, and as your eyes adjust, you see that the walls are lined with barrels upon barrels of wine. This is the place. Look! Wes examines a row of upright casks and bottles set apart from the others. A small wooden plate with the words "Toxic, do not touch" written on it hangs in the front. Next to the collection is a crate of herbs with long dried stems, clusters of small white flowers on one end and thin yellow roots on the other. Is this hemlock? I'm not sure. Remus would know. You pocket some of the plants. We should take some of the bottles too. You reach for one of the dark bottles and grab it by the stem, but the glass is more slippery than you expect. The bottle smashes against the ground. Shit! You can faintly make out yelling upstairs, footsteps stomping your way. Hi! Wes hisses through his teeth. He looks around and pulls you by the hand towards the cabinet, wrenching it open and squeezing the two of you inside. It's barely big enough to stand in, and Wes has to hunch to fit. You can feel his breath tickle your ears in the darkness. Just in time, the trapdoor opens with a bang, and a voice comes from above. I know I heard something. Probably nothing. Just be clear, I'm not going down there no matter what kind of vintage cask you have in your niche. There's no response. Warmth radiates from Wes's body. He can't be more than a foot away from you. All you'd have to do is reach out, and the trapdoor slams shut, and the footsteps and voices begin to retreat. Fucking hell, water time. What a sticky situation. After a beat, Wes laughs quietly in relief, his voice husky as he whispers, Holy shit! Let's get out of here before they come back! You can feel more than see Wes nod in assent. Your own heart is still pounding. Right. Neither of you move. You're still frozen in the spell of proximity, acutely aware of the faint scent of citrus on Wes's fur and, underneath it, the smell of him. Your mind races down 100 different paths, at least a quarter of which involve waking up next to him, legs tangled together and sheets in your face buried in his chest. Another half sends the blood from your brain straight to your dick. You really hope he doesn't bump against you south of your waist. Hey! As they're reading your mind, Wes's breath is suddenly right against your face, his nose practically touching yours. All you can see is the glint of his eyes in the darkness, but you can smell him all around you, feel his hand gently reach for your hip. You're sure he can hear your heart pounding in your chest. Your throat goes dry in anticipation. Hey. You lean into his touch as your hand grabs a bicep for balance. He's solid and unshakable, barely wavering under your weight. Wes cranes his head forward, his lips hovering by yours. Then he closes the distance, kissing you. Your eyes flutter closed as you feel the rasp of his tongue against your parted mouth. Wes rumbles low with pleasure as his weight pushes you against the wall by the hip. Fuck. There's no stopping the way your breath hitches when his hands roam to the small of your back. When he grazes against your half-hard dick with his own, just enough to tease, you sure feel a circuit fry in your brain. Fuck. Does he do this a lot? Make out with guys in closets? What happens to them afterwards? You think back to Sky Boja, which is not really the image you want in your head right now, but his haughty face comes to mind anyways. What was his deal? Did they make out down here, in the guest room? But then Wes's hands are on your ass, squeezing, and a renewed sense of urgency washes over you as you hook your fingers into his belt loops and pull him closer. Fuck, you're hard. Wes raps against your mouth with a chuckle. It's your fault. You can barely mumble out the accusation before he silences you with his tongue. Despite the intensity of the moment, there's a fragility in this tight space that makes your heart race with an equal measure of arousal and anxiety. You feel like the spell between you might break at any moment, and you'll wake up at home, alone, in wet briefs and nothing to look forward to. It's your first kiss together, and you're already fearful it'll be your last. You pull Wes in closer, desperately trying to get friction between your trapped dicks. Wes hisses with pleasure as you roll your hips together, and you practically slam yourselves against the wall as your foot stumbles back in. Something is knocked over in the cabinet, the sound thunderous in the cramped space. You both freeze, neither of you daring to breathe. The moment is lost. Only silence greets you as Wes slowly pulls away, and, after a moment, tentatively pushes the cabinet door open. He stares at you for a moment. You wonder if you look as wild as he does, the fro on his head mussed and his face flushed with desire. Wes finally looks away. It's a bottle. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and pause it right there. Oh boy, it was getting spicy. Anyway, y'all, thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Leave a super thanks or a tip if you can. It always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to check out that Patreon, y'all. Bye-bye!